Alright guys, so tomorrow is the day of when they talk about Renegades and the Ashen Iron update. In fact, Ashen Iron comes out on the day that they're actually properly speaking about it. But today we're actually going to be focusing a little bit on Renegades, and we're also going to be talking a little bit about lore as well. We actually have a lore reading in this video too. Destiny Bulletin has tweeted here saying Bungie has shared some new details about Destiny 2 Star Wars inspired Renegades expansion, clarifying that it's not a standalone bottle episode or one-off, but a direct continuation of the Fate saga. So I've got the article open just here and we're going to properly go through it now, but there's a few bits that actually does interest me in this, and also at the same time I do want to very briefly talk about the whole Ashen Iron update with this kind of article read as well. But a few things that I'm going to unpack here, let's just read it and then we'll go from there. So they say Bungie confirms Renegades, the upcoming Star Wars inspired expansion, is not a standalone story and will continue the main narrative of Destiny 2's Fate saga following the Edge of Fate. With the Edge of Fate now behind us and the Fate saga well underway, Destiny 2 players are already looking ahead to the second expansion of the year, Renegades. Launching on December 2nd, 2025, Renegades is Bungie's first ever licensed collaboration with Lucasfilm's Star Wars franchise, and based on early teasers, it's packed with lightsabers, blaster style weapons, and all the sci-fi desert vibes you expect from a Star Wars story. So heavily inspired by Star Wars here, and we already knew that. In fact, actually they showed a preview of an emblem which looks like the Mandalorian holding what I think is the dark saber. I'm sorry if I get that wrong. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but there you go. Naturally, some fans were worried that this would be just a Star Wars side story in a Destiny wrapper, but Destiny has repeatedly clarified that Renegades isn't just a Star Wars themed side story. It's a key part of the Fate saga that started with the Edge of Fate. And that again, I just want to be very, very clear about that, because Alison Lurs has constantly been backing this up as well. She has repeatedly said, and that's pretty much where they're getting this from as well. She has repeatedly said that this is a continuation from the Edge of Fate and a continuation of that story that we left off of on the Edge of Fate, just inspired by Star Wars. So it's not inherently Star Wars, it's inspired by Star Wars, and it's in a Star Wars setting in terms of aesthetics, looks, and style. However, they're continuing the Destiny story because, Star Wars isn't canon. You're just going to have things that are inspired by Star Wars. You know what I mean? So moving on from that, they say now we've got even more insight into what this expansion is really about. So Destiny 2 Renegades is part of the Fate saga, not a one-off. Speaking in an interview with GameSpot, Destiny 2 narrative director Alison Lurs explained that Renegades picks up directly where the Edge of Fate left off. Renegades picks up where the Edge of Fate left off. Actually, it's a more direct continuation of the Fate saga. We made the deliberate choice not to make this a bottle episode or a one-off, and instead knew our players would engage more deeply if we made Renegades an inherent part of the broader story, she said. I actually fully trust Alison Lurs, by the way. I know she's got this down to a T. I don't think there's going to be any issues with this whatsoever. We'll be dealing with the ramifications of 3's death and what the other 9 are doing in response. We already know how the Fate saga ends. When we set out to plan the next saga, we knew we wanted to set ourselves up for a storytelling success by having a goal to work towards. We treat the story structure like a skeleton. We know the basics, but how we achieve them is flexible and adaptable. This means that we can seed elements now that will pay off at the very end. As a result, we've got a story that feels rich while allowing us creators to be flexible as we go. There's early concept art of 3 there. Obviously 3 doesn't look anything like that in the game. I actually love how 3 looks, by the way. I don't know if all the 9 are going to be similar in terms of shape, size, and what they look like, but I think they did a really good job with how 3 looks in the game. This reinforces Bungie's plan to keep the Fate saga tightly connected across expansions. Unlike previous years where the seasonal stories sometimes drifted into side plots, Alison Lurs says the team already knows how the entire saga ends, and Renegades is one of the core chapters that will get us there. Beyond this interview, in-game lore has already hinted about Renegades. A new lore book, Treacherous Contacts, strongly hints that we'll be heading to Mars, specifically a region called Tharis, to deal with a mysterious new Cabal faction. And this is going to be interesting here, and this is why I wanted to do a little bit of a lore read, because I know exactly the lore book that they're talking about, and I have read it, and it involves Xur, and it involves the Cabal basically stealing some loot from Xur, and I'm going to go through that with you guys in this video as well. These Cabal aren't using Red Legion leftovers. They're being supplied with powerful new weapons, and even managed to ambush Xur, stealing exotics like Bad Juju and Malfeasance. So we're going to be talking about that very shortly, so just keep that in mind there. And like I said at the very beginning of this video about the whole Ashen Iron stuff, I'm going to talk about that near the end of the video. So we're packing quite a lot into this because there's a few things I wanted to get off my chest, and I didn't want to just make this into multiple separate videos because literally Ash and Iron releases tomorrow. But yeah, we're going to continue this, and then we'll finish off with Ash and Iron after I do the lore read. So Xur's stolen flight logs reference the term Dominion and Eternity repeatedly exactly 9 times. Some players believe this could be a coded attempt to reach out to the Nine. There's also speculation that we could see characters like Shin Malphur involved in some form. And again, this is huge as well if you know about the man with the golden gun. That lore is some of my favorite lore in the game, by the way. I absolutely love Rezdor Wazir. But moving on from that, we'll know more soon. Bungie's full Renegades reveal happens tomorrow, September 9th at 9 AM PT, just before the launch of Ash and Iron. All right, moving on from that, guys, we have actually got the lore book right here. I'm going to be going through this with you because this is the kind of altercation that happened with Xur. All right, so it reads as follows. Cormorant level encrypted message follows. Naturally, the Praxic Order is concerned with the proliferation of reality-altering technology, but the Order's mandate is not the protection of the city, or even humanity. It's to combat the agents of darkness. Until the Vex fall within those parameters, the Order respectfully declines. Sorry, Ikora. I tried. Cormorant level encrypted message as follows. I'm not going to keep on repeating this, by the way. We know what it says. Normally, I wouldn't get out of bed to track Cabal activity, but the Hidden are reporting a new sect at work on Mars. Their livery and weapons are fresh, and they are doing brush trade with the local gangs. Not within our purview, I know, but it bears watching. According to Omar St. Croix, this new faction of Cabal are big players in the Martian arm trade. They have guns and armor for sale beyond the usual refurbished Red Legion junk. Someone out there with real manufacturing clout is behind them. To what end? I'm not sure yet. I know the Martian Cabal isn't a sanctioned target, but mark my words, it's only a matter of time. Nobody stockpiles this much gear without hedging against Guardian interface. They'll want paracausal weapons sooner or later, and by the time we see them in the field, it'll be too late. I told you it was only a matter of time before the new Cabal faction went after paracausal weapons, and here we are. A hit squad wearing their livery mugged Xur in the Winding Cove, cased him until all the Guardians left, then gave him the old Dark Ages stick up. Here's the inventory of everything stolen from Xur. Bad juju, malfeasance, ruinous effigy, and flight records. Now, all of these guns have something in common, and I think you can all pretty much guess what they are. They're all related to darkness in some way. You've got bad juju, which is hive magic, and that's related to the darkness. You've got malfeasance, which is obviously related to the darkness because it's got taken energy. And you've got ruinous effigy, which is void light combined with darkness energy. It's all related to darkness in some way. I mean, all you have to do is just read the lore of ruinous effigy and you can see how deep that goes. Left all the strange coins, glimmer, and standard gear. Clearly he knew what they were after. This won't be their last attempt to secure advanced weaponry. Are we actually going to be going up against Cabal that actually have bad juju, malfeasance, and ruinous effigy? And we all know that Renegades has a new dredging on the block as well, which I really hope is going to be Janna 14. Imagine Janna 14 getting her hands on all of this, knowing how obsessed she is with Necrotic Grips, Thorn, and Osteostriga being her little baby there. Moving on, the lore book reads, after reviewing the Xur case files, something sticks out. The flight data. They didn't just want the weapons. They wanted to know where he got them. They wanted his contacts. Looking back, that might have been the real target all along. Looks like I was right about the flight records being the real target of Xur's stick-up. Intercepted comms from an unidentified Cabal ship included references Xur's Dominion and Eternity. So these are the two keywords, just like what we read earlier, where this was mentioned on his flight records. The message repeats 9 times somebody's trying to make contact. Very, very, very coincidental. You know, obviously it matches. I think the Renegade Cabal are making headway, keyword there. Our undercovers on Mars report their lieutenants out trading for samples of periodic elements, most of them benign. Tungsten, lodine,
Ytterbium.
Tungsten, lodine, ytterbium, and neodymium, the list goes on, and not in quantities useful for manufacturing either. Something's up. I put out feelers with the fallen mob on Tharsis. Rumors that the Cabal have their Scion engineers building a cipher device using periodic elements as its key. Not the words for the elements, but the elements themselves. They have to be getting outside help, and I mean way outside. The hidden listening post on Mars reports a spike in local comms traffic. Whatever the Cabal were hoping to gain from Xur's flight records and their elemental cipher, it seems to have worked. We still don't know who's back in the Martian faction, but they've got big plans. Our agents have been making indirect inquiries to the other gangs in Tharsis. Word is the Cabal are looking for the Drifter, again, huge hints to the Dredge in there, and more specifically, the Derelict. I get the feeling that Drifter stepped in something rancid, and he's about to track it all over the carpet. Where is that scumbag? It's obviously not a new thing for Drifter to get himself into a bit of trouble here and there, but there you go. So this, I guess, kind of sets up a little bit of a storyline in Renegades. I don't obviously think that this is going to be the exact storyline that we're going to be getting in Renegades. There's no way they would just reveal that in this entire thing. Plus, we don't know what the repercussions of, 3's death is going to be. We don't know what impact that has on Earth. And we don't know what impact that has on Mars with all this going on as well. What we do know is that there's some weapons of sorrow mischief going on. Now, obviously, I know that these guns aren't weapons of sorrow, but at the same time, you'd be a bit of a fool to have an entire expansion which has dredgings involved and the Drifter not even have a hint of weapons of sorrow. Has to be there, and I am very, very excited about that. But yeah, we'll just have to see. But moving on from this, guys, I do want to finish off with the Ash and Iron, because Ash and Iron is literally tomorrow. We have the reveal for Ash and Iron tomorrow. And I guess I kind of want to set the expectation, because we already know that we're not getting a story mission when it comes to Ash and Iron. Like, there's not going to be anything too heavy in terms of story. You might get a quest here and there to kind of like hit us off with Ash and Iron, but I just don't think there's going to be a story mission to it. And the whole reason as to why I say that is because this is a major update. A major update in terms of patch notes, in terms of gameplay changes, in terms of buffs and nerfs. Like, overall just gameplay mechanical stuff is usually what they bring with these major updates. Obviously, we're going back to the Plague Lands. Obviously, we're going to be getting some new activities. Obviously, we're going to be getting new exotic weapons and armor. Like, that's all a given thing. But in terms of the story, I just don't think it's going to go too deep tomorrow. At the end of the day, I'm all for just letting the player have fun. Obviously, I want to have fun in Ash and Iron, but at the same time, I just kind of want to set the boundary and set the expectation that if you're going into Ash and Iron tomorrow thinking you're going to get like a whole heap of content, you're setting yourself up to fail. The next heap of content that we're going to be getting is Renegades. That is what Bungie is preparing for right now. Literally just go into tomorrow thinking, okay, new activity, new exotic weapon to grind for. In fact, 2 exotic weapons to grind for. The heavy axe and the pulse rifle, which has an alt firing mode, so hopefully it might be a rocket pulse, but we'll just have to see. But at the end of the day, I would just say, look, go in with an open mind. Just don't set your expectations too high. This is literally just going to be something to get us through until Renegades, and we'll see what that's like. Obviously, we've got Season of the Haunted between now and then as well. There's a few bits in the way, but literally just don't expect this major content update, because that's not what this is. This is just a major update. Nerfs, buffs, tweaks, UI updates, bug fixes, activity, exotic weapons. So that's what we're getting. I'll be interested to see if they did implement any story stuff with a quest there. I really don't think they're going to do that. I think it's just going to be a real basic quest like what we got with Heavy Metal. I don't think it's going to be anything too crazy. We might get a couple Siva ornaments here and there, because ornaments aren't related to the story whatsoever, and they can get away with that. They have got away with that with many Siva ornaments before. And I'm excited to see what cool lore comes out as well, because ultimately this is the stuff that I read every day. So yeah, we'll see. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna throw it back to you. I know this is a little bit of a late one. Obviously, I'm posting this quite late as well. We literally have Ash and Iron and the Renegades update tomorrow. But nevertheless, guys, I want to know what your thoughts and feelings are. If you haven't gone into Ash and Iron just yet, and you're seeing this video right now as it's uploaded before we've seen absolutely anything tomorrow, what's your expectations? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm interested to hear from your opinion. But nevertheless, guys, thank you so much for your time, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.